Ready when you are, Steve.
All right, well, obviously, Vincent, you're very passionate about diversity, inclusion, equity. So where does that passion come from for you? Where's the fuel for the passion for this work?
Well, that's a great question. I'll tell you, I've reflected on that a lot, and I actually think it first started when I was a child, being a military brat. And in the Navy, when people say, "Where are you from, Vince? Where are you from?" I say, "I don't know, 2 years and out." And what happened is that anytime you were moving in or you were moving out, you would find yourself either in or out. And trying to get in was always something that was so important to me. How do you build new friends? How do you build new relationships? And so that, I think, was really the spark, was how good it felt to be in and how terrible it felt to be out. I think the other thing that really was important is my father, being a chief petty officer, was not in the, quote, officer class. But what it did is it introduced me to all different walks of life, different cultures, different backgrounds, different relationships. So here I would be all of a sudden at a Samoan pig roast, or I'd be at a Jewish synagogue, or I'd be at a Buddhist temple with a friend that I had built a new relationship with. And I think it just helped me to get a passion for people and to really see the power when we are included. So, honestly, I think it goes back there. Now, what fuels me today, I know you didn't ask that question.
Yeah. Well, we can get into that. I mean, yeah, so obviously it's changed over the years. So what I was going to ask you next was how has your work kind of changed over the years, and how you go about it, and kind of what you feel like you can do and how you can do it.
Yeah, so being in this work for a long period of time, the industry itself has gone through a lot of different changes. It really first started almost from an affirmative action mindset, where it was really about quotas and ideas and forcing people to be connected. And I'm not making a judgment on that, but that was pretty much how it was set up. To really this whole concept that inclusion, which quite frankly the word didn't even exist, is all about making organizations better. It's all about having more profitability. It's all about getting the value of everybody else. So it went from tell you to do it to it's good for you. And so that transition has led us to really think about the work a lot more differently. And then over time, so much research, data, facts, and information is supporting the value of those type of environments. So it's not a question of is it the right thing to do? Absolutely. But also it's absolutely most important for organizations and for people. And one other thing I would just say is an evolution. Today, I think the workplace is more important today for workplaces to provide opportunities for connections, because it's one of the few places that happens every day where the opportunity for diverse people to meet.
So what kind of differences does it make when you find that, when you can reach that level? What kind of tangible differences does it make?
Yeah, I mean, from a data standpoint, employee opinion surveys go up, innovation and creativity goes up, profitability, people stay at the jobs longer, they contribute more, they innovate more. People want to stay. It's easier to recruit because people are saying, hey, this is the place to be. We want you to be in this environment. I mean, think about it. Most of us have been in a position where we felt like we didn't belong. And is that generally the place you're going to say, hey, let me tell my best friends to come there. I don't feel good here, but I want you to come. But so the reality is that it has tangible benefits, but it also benefits who we are. It creates more energy. It makes people really want to do much more and feel like that they can provide their absolute best. And so from a profitability standpoint, from a productivity standpoint, all of those are there. But at the end of the day, it also just makes people feel better. And when we feel better, we do better.
And this speaks to businesses, but also communities as a whole, right?
Absolutely. I say it's absolutely businesses, it's absolutely communities, it's absolutely every organization that we're involved in. Anytime I would say that there are two or more people that are together, then if there's an environment of inclusion, it's more productive. And one of the things that is important is that inclusion is an intentional action. It's something that you have to do. One of the things that a lot of people think is that they want to be diverse, they want to be inclusive. Both of those things are important, but diversity is almost kind of like who we all are. Inclusion is basically who we bring in. And when we bring people in and that they can be engaged, it makes all the difference in the world.
What are some examples from the work you've done, some either businesses or communities where you've seen it's kind of taken hold and made a difference?
Yeah, so in so many different organizations, I have seen when departments, when staff has become more engaged and inclusive, you see productivity. In fact, I was thinking about an organization that we did a lot of work with, quite frankly, with a gentleman who does work with us today. And this organization said, let's bring together, by design, some people who are very different and diverse. And they started to work on some of the most difficult problems within the organization. Unbelievable. People who may not have ever been involved in this process, selected intentionally, started to come up with some new ideas, with some new innovations. I've seen organizations come up with new products because they had a new insight on a consumer demographic. And I never will forget, they said, we are missing this particular market. 10 years, nobody ever said it, but they got this group together, they start seeing it differently. They were very different in ethnicity and race and gender and sexual orientation. So it's almost like when you start unleashing people and you're saying, let's do it for the benefit of the whole organization, it is incredible what people can do. We've seen it come in creating more efficient processes within healthcare organizations. We've seen it help increase who's recruited, who's advanced, who's developed. We've seen it just really take hold in many different ways, and always to the good.
I know you talk a lot about the implicit, unconscious bias.
Yes.
So what's maybe not understood? What's the big thing that's maybe the misconception about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You'll hear me say this tonight, and I'll repeat it from the hills. If you're human, you're biased. If you're human, you're biased. And oftentimes people think if you're biased, you're bad. They put those two things together. And the fact of the matter is that the way the brain is organized, bias is an organizing principle. Our brain is working on so many different things that it's so important for it to organize. What we want to make sure is that it's not making shortcut decisions on people. It's not putting people in boxes that aren't right, that aren't true. So what we believe is that the more you know about your own biases, you change the equation. Do the biases drive my behaviors, or do I drive my behaviors? And once I recognize that, and one of the ways we talk about it is simple, the power of the pause, which is really giving time to really reflect on, why am I making this decision about this person? Why am I doing it this way? Why is it that the only people that are in this interview went to the same school I went to? I mean, you start asking yourself those kind of questions, that pause, and all of a sudden you start making different decisions.
How open have people been to these conversations, and has that changed?
That's a great question. I would say that as part of the evolution of this work, people are becoming more and more open to just the impact of neuroscience on us as humans, as well as us in sense of bias. So you've got a lot of work and research on this area now that just didn't exist before. And so it is continuing. I'd also say that, I think the upcoming generations are paying so much more attention, and they're so connected to understanding this that it's really exciting. But yeah, people are really connecting with this, and we're having some wonderful conversations. Now, you know, some people still are struggling, but that's what this is about. It's about creating an opportunity to have conversations, to have dialogues, to have people to create connections, and also give them what they can do. That's one of the other things that Dr. Janet Reed and I, as we've done this work, we wanted to make sure that not only did we talk about the biases, because we think you need to understand them, but also what can I do? And that's really this whole concept of intrinsic inclusion, because it's not just about knowing I'm biased. It's about how do I build connections and bridges with people who might not be like myself. And it's intentional, but there are things we can do, and that's what we're excited about.
And you're going to have a conversation tonight. You're going to do your presentation. So what do you hope you accomplish tonight? What is your goal? What's a success tonight? You know, that you're hoping will come out of your presentation tonight.
Yeah, what I hope is that at least two people who are very different than each other find each other and start practicing some principles of being more intrinsically inclusive. That they'll start talking about the things they can do, but they'll start doing it. If it's 4, if it's 6, if it's 20, that's gravy. But what I believe and what we believe is that the power of 2 can make all the difference in the world. And so I'm hoping I can find those 2 people that are really paying attention and say, I can do that. I should do that. I should do that at my church. I should do that in my company. I should do that in the organizations that I'm involved in. If I can get 2 people that will start that spark, then this is well worthwhile. That may sound like a low bar, but quite frankly, it's a high bar because of the impact and ripple effect that it can have on our communities. And when I say communities, I'm saying communities of worship, communities of work, communities of school and education, wherever 2 or more people gather. If we can create this environment, it will make all the difference in our world. And quite frankly, Steve, my opinion, we need more people that are naturally inclusive, intrinsically inclusive now in our country. My opinion, more than ever.
You got a chance to tour Pensacola today, and what's your impression? I don't know how much else you know about the past and what's happening here. Your kind of impression of Pensacola, and maybe of the potential of Pensacola. You know, if they can start moving more in some of these directions, even more than they are already.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I mean, I did not have a great background on Pensacola. I always wanted to come. So first, I was just excited. Second, the richness of the history. The richness of what's going on. I am struck. Quite frankly, I'm overwhelmed at the development. We rode all around the city, county today just to get a sense, and there's so much growth and opportunity that seems to be right in front of everybody. And so my question is, how do we make sure, how do you